Poor black Maid used Millionaire's Ferrari to save his son. What he did shocked everyone. The sirens were wailing so loud they drowned out the sound of her own heartbeat. Smoke curled from the hood of the blood-red Ferrari, the engine sputtering like it was taking its last breath. The luxury car was pinned sideways across 2 lanes, hazard lights blinking like dying fireflies. People had stopped, drivers, pedestrians, cops all frozen in a scene no one could make sense of. Inside the car, a child was coughing, wheezing, barely conscious in the back seat. Beside the open driver's door, barefoot and trembling, stood a woman in a wrinkled housemaid uniform, blood smeared across her forehead. It was her, Loretta, a 39-year-old maid from the south side of Chicago, standing next to a millionaire's mangled Ferrari like it was hers. Across the street, emerging from a sleek black SUV, came Nathan Grayson, Silicon Valley tycoon, tech billionaire, and father to the boy in the car. His eyes locked onto her. His face wasn't angry. It was unreadable. And then he said something no one expected. Not the cops. Not the crowd. Not Loretta. Arrest her. Wait, what? The woman who had just risked everything to save his son. The woman who. Keep watching to find out what he does next. You won't believe where this story goes. Hit that like button, subscribe, and don't miss a second. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Loretta Williams got up every morning at 4:45 a.m. Not because she wanted to. Because the L train from 87th Street wouldn't wait. By 6 o'clock, she'd be unlocking the side door to the Grayson estate, a massive stone mansion nestled just outside Winnetka. Rich people called it the North Shore. Loretta called it another planet. She moved quietly through the house like she'd been trained by ghosts. The family was usually still asleep, and she liked it that way. It gave her time to breathe before the chaos started. Breakfast, laundry, glass walls you had to clean with special cloths imported from Italy. She didn't complain. It was better than the last house, where the man of the house drank too much and threw plates when he didn't like his eggs. The Graysons were cold, but they weren't cruel. That was something. Especially the boy. Noah, 8 years old, curious about everything, and never too proud to ask questions. He called her Miss Loretta even when his mother scolded him for being overly formal with staff. He liked to follow her around while she cleaned, asking why the vacuum made that sound or what soap smelled like lemons. Sometimes, when his parents were gone for hours and the nannies were glued to their phones, Loretta would sit with him on the back patio and show him how to braid string into bracelets. One day he gave her one. Blue and green. Tied too tight. Don't take it off, he said. She never did. Loretta lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment above a Jamaican restaurant on 83rd. The rent was barely manageable, but it was hers. It smelled like jerk chicken and old books. There was a photo of her daughter on the nightstand, cracked frame, faded smile. Mariah, 18, graduated early, gone too soon. Some nights Loretta would sit on the edge of her bed and talk to her like she was still there. About Noah. About how it hurt in places she didn't know could ache. About how she was tired. Really tired. 2 weeks before the crash, something changed. It was a Thursday. Loretta had just finished mopping the sunroom when she heard raised voices from the second floor. Not loud enough to make out the words, but sharp, urgent. She paused, hands still gripping the mop handle. Then, footsteps, fast and angry. The slam of a door. Down the stairs came Nathan Grayson, phone to his ear, suit half-buttoned. No, I don't give a damn if he's got a fever. Tell her to get it under control. He brushed past Loretta like she was furniture. Then, another voice, much smaller. Miss Loretta. It was Noah. Pale. Sweating. Clutching his stomach. I don't feel good. She took one look at him and dropped the mop. She stayed with him that day. Sat on the floor beside his bed with a cool cloth and a storybook. When the fever climbed past 103, she called the front desk. No answer. She tried Nathan's office line. Straight to voicemail. An hour passed. 2. It was 3:45 p.m. when his breathing changed. Shallow. Quick. Loretta panicked. She knocked on every door in that house. No one was home. Not a soul. She opened the medical drawer in the kitchen. Useless. Then she saw it. Keys. The Ferrari's key fob, left on the marble counter like it was nothing. No note. No message. Just there. Staring at her. She had never even touched that car before. And then, she did. By the time she hit the highway, Noah's face had turned gray. She called 911 while steering, her voice shaking, the wind from the open window whipping through her hair. The dispatcher said they were sending an ambulance, but it was at least 10 minutes out. Loretta didn't have 10 minutes. She took the Lakeshore Drive exit doing 90 in a 45. Horn blaring. Brake lights flashing. People swerving out of her way. A woman in a maid's uniform, hair uncombed, driving a $300,000 sports car like it was a weapon. She didn't care. She had to get him to the hospital. She made it. Sort of. She swerved at the ER entrance and clipped a parked sedan. The Ferrari spun halfway before slamming into a concrete barrier. Airbags exploded. Loretta's head bounced off the wheel. Everything went white. She came to as nurses yanked the car door open and pulled Noah out. She tried to say something, tried to explain, but the blood was running down her face and her lips felt thick and numb. The last thing she saw before blacking out was someone pulling her to the curb. Then came the sirens. Then came the cameras. Then came the billionaire. And now she stood, shaking, under the glare of emergency lights, as the man she had served for 3 years pointed his finger at her. Arrest her. No one moved. For a second, the entire world held its breath. The cops looked at each other, then at Loretta, then back at Nathan Grayson. So, one of the officers asked, voice uncertain. She stole my vehicle, Nathan said, voice calm, cold. You're standing here acting like this isn't Grand Theft Auto. Loretta's hands twitched at her sides. She couldn't speak yet. The dried blood on her temple had crusted, pulling at her skin every time she blinked. She could barely stand, let alone argue. A nice step forward. Sir, the boy, your son, is alive because of her. Nathan didn't even glance at her. That's not the point. Loretta's eyes darted toward the ER doors. They'd taken Noah in 10 minutes ago. The boy had barely been breathing, sweat soaking his hair, the fever making him delirious. She remembered how he'd whispered her name, Miss Loretta, before his eyes rolled back. Was he okay? Was he? A cop said gently, do you understand your rights? What? Her voice cracked. We need to ask you some questions. We need you to come with us. No, the word escaped before she could think. Then louder. No, I didn't steal anything. He was dying. No one else was there. I had to. She's lying, Nathan said, eyes still hard. She wanted attention. She wanted to play hero. And just like that, the murmurs started. Someone was filming. Loretta could feel the lens on her skin like a spotlight. She was the poor maid who crashed a Ferrari. No one saw the sick child in the back seat. Just the headlines. Poor black woman. Millionaire's car. A hospital. A crash. A scandal. And Nathan Grayson was letting it happen. One of the officers placed a gentle hand on her arm. You're not under arrest, he said, but we do need you to come in. Loretta looked around. She didn't see anyone on her side. Except one person. From behind the ER doors, a knife slipped out quietly, clipboard in hand. She approached the group with careful steps, looking first at Loretta, then at Nathan. Mr. Grayson, we've stabilized Noah. Nathan's breath hitched, just slightly. He's okay. He's lucky. The seizure triggered a spike in intracranial pressure. If he'd gotten here 5 minutes later, we'd be having a different conversation. Then she turned and handed the clipboard to Loretta. There's a note, she said. He asked us to write it down for her when he woke up. Loretta stared down at the cren-scrawled message on a nurse's pad. Thank you, Miss Loretta. I love you. Noah. The air went still again. This time, it was Nathan who had nothing to say. They didn't arrest her. They didn't apologize, either. 2 hours later, Loretta was sitting on a metal chair inside a small observation room, sipping water through cracked lips. An officer took her statement, typed slowly, and never looked her in the eye. She was free to go. No one offered a ride. No one asked if she was okay. She walked 3 blocks before she found a bus stop, barefoot, carrying her shoes in one hand. When she sat down, the pain in her ribs flared, and she realized for the first time that something might actually be broken. But she didn't cry. She didn't curse. She just sat there, blinking into the darkness, watching the lights of passing cars. The next morning, her phone didn't ring. No call from the Graysons. No text. No message. She called the house line. Straight to voicemail. She called again. Nothing. By 10 a.m., she knew. She was fired. No severance. No goodbye. Just silence. 2 days later, the news broke. Maid wrecks Millionaire's Ferrari in alleged attempted car theft. Housekeeper hijacks supercar, claims she was saving child. Grayson family in shock after insider betrayal. The security footage from the garage was leaked, grainy black and white clips of Loretta entering the garage alone, keys in hand. No context, no audio, just image after image of a woman walking toward a car she had no business touching. The internet ate it up. She was trending, and not in the good way. Loretta tried to disappear. She unplugged the landline, changed her number, and stopped answering the door. But it didn't stop the knocks. Reporters, mostly. Some pretending to be friends. Some waving money in her face. One woman shouted through the door, "Do you regret it?" Loretta didn't answer. She just stood on the other side, quiet as a shadow. Did she regret it? No. She would do it again. 100 times. Even if it cost her everything. But she didn't know it yet. It wasn't going to cost her everything. It was going to cost her more. A week after the crash, she received a letter in the mail. No return address. No name. Inside, a legal summons. Nathan Grayson was suing her. The charge: destruction of property, endangerment of a minor, and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. He was asking for damages. $275,000. Loretta stared at the letter for a full minute before she realized she wasn't breathing. The bracelet on her wrist, blue and green, itched like it was burning. That night, she went for a walk. No phone. No coat. Just walking. And for the first time in years, Loretta let herself ask a question she'd buried long ago. What did I do to deserve this life? The wind didn't answer, but the universe would. Very soon. The knock came at 6:12 in the morning. 3 slow taps. Not loud. Not rushed. Like whoever was out there already knew she was awake. Loretta froze at the sink. She had just poured hot water over her instant coffee, and her hands were still wrapped tight around the chip mug. Outside, the sky was still that murky blue-gray before sunrise. She didn't move. Another knock. Still quiet. Still polite. She set the mug down and walked barefoot across the cold tile. The hallway creaked under her weight. She peeked through the peephole. It wasn't a reporter. It wasn't the police. It was a kid. Maybe 19. Hoodie. Backpack slung over one shoulder. Nervous bounce in his step. Loretta cracked the door just an inch. "Can I help you?" "Miss Loretta?" he asked, voice cautious. Her whole body stiffened. "Who's asking?" He scratched the back of his neck. "I work for Mr. Grayson." "Well, kind of. I'm his intern. His assistant's assistant, really." "Whatever it is," she said, "tell him to send it through his lawyer." He blinked. "No, I'm not here with papers. I'm here because he's asking to see you." Loretta narrowed her eyes. "Why?" He didn't say. Just told me to find you and say it was urgent. "I'm not stepping one foot into that house." "It's not the house," the kid said. "He's not there." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Handed it to her. She opened it. A name. A place. A time. 9:30 a.m. St. Catherine's. South Side. Then, underneath, a short note written in the sharp, all-capital handwriting she knew too well. 1 hour. No cameras. No lawyers. You want the truth. Show up. Loretta had sworn she'd never see Nathan Grayson again. But something about the note stuck with her. Not the tone, not the threat, something else. You want the truth. She'd lived weeks in silence, scorned by strangers, erased from the life she gave herself to. She deserved the truth. So at 9:15, she walked into St. Catherine's, a little stone church tucked between 2 boarded-up storefronts and an auto body shop. It was empty inside. Wooden pews. Dust motes in the stained glass light. Smelled like old books and candle smoke. He was already there. Nathan Grayson. Standing in the second row, back straight, hands clasped behind him like a statue in a suit. He turned as she walked in, and for the first time in the 3 years she'd worked for him, he didn't look polished. He looked wrecked. "Thank you for coming," he said. Loretta didn't sit. "Why, hey?" He nodded at the altar. It's where I was baptized. My mother used to bring me every Sunday before she passed. Didn't know you believed in God, she said flatly. I don't, he replied, but I believe in guilt. She waited. Nathan looked down at his hands. I was wrong. The words dropped into the air like bricks. Loretta narrowed her eyes. Come again. He looked up. I was wrong to say what I said. At the hospital. About you. About the car. I knew you weren't stealing it. I knew Noah was sick. I panicked. Everything in my life is always clean, controlled, calculated. And then I saw my son nearly die, and I saw you behind the wheel of that car, and it just broke something in me. Loretta folded her arms. And now you're suing me for $250,000. I dropped the lawsuit. She flinched. What? I had my lawyers withdraw the case yesterday. You dropped it and didn't tell me. I didn't think you'd take my call. She stared at him. You're right. A pause. Then, why now? Nathan swallowed. For a second, he looked like he might lie. Then he didn't. Noah keeps asking for you, he said quietly. That hit her harder than she expected. He cries at night, Nathan continued. He won't talk to the nannies. Won't eat much. He draws pictures of the crash. Of you. One of them had you with a cape. Loretta looked away. Her throat tightened. I thought if I punished you, he said, it would make me feel like I had control. But all I've done is hurt the only person who saved my son's life. Loretta finally sat down. The wood was hard, cold against her back. She stared straight ahead at the altar. I don't want your apology, she said. I don't care about your guilt. Nathan's jaw tensed, but he didn't speak. You have more money than you know what to do with, she said. And I'm living on canned soup. I almost died in that car. You let the world drag my name through mud, and you didn't say a damn word to stop it. He nodded slowly. You're right. I lost my job. My reputation. I can't go near school or hospital without someone recognizing me. I know. Then why did you really call me here? She asked. Because it wasn't just guilt. You could have mailed an apology and a check. You brought me to a church. You wanted something. Silence. Then, I'm scared, he said. Loretta blinked. I don't know how to be a father, Nathan admitted, voice raw. My ex-wife, she raised Noah more than I ever did. I was always working, always traveling. And now she's moved to Europe with her new fiancé and Noah's with me full-time and His voice cracked. I don't know what I'm doing, he finished. Loretta stared at him. So what? You want me to come back? He hesitated. Yes, he said. Loretta stood. No. He looked up sharply. Loretta. No, she said again, firmer this time. You don't get to break something and then ask the pieces to fix you. Nathan was quiet. I love that boy like he was mine, she said. I still do. But I won't let you use me like a crutch because you're too scared to figure out how to love your own son. She started to walk away, then stopped, turned back. You want to be a good father. Nathan nodded once. Then you fight for him the way I did, she said. You show up. You stay. And when the whole world's coming for him, you put yourself in front of the fire. She walked out of the church without looking back. And for the first time since the crash, her shoulders felt lighter. But she had no idea what was waiting for her outside. Because across the street, a man in sunglasses lowered his camera. He'd caught the whole conversation through the cracked stained glass window. And he wasn't from a tabloid. He was from something much, much bigger. The video hit the internet before Loretta even made it back home. 6 minutes and 29 seconds long. Shaky but clear enough. Recorded through the stained glass window of St. Catherine's by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. It started with her walking into the church, ended with her walking out. But what was in between? That was what set everything on fire. Nathan Grayson, the billionaire, the tech genius, the man who let the world believe his housemaid was a thief. Now caught on tape, in a church, confessing everything. I was wrong. I panicked. I let the world drag her name through mud. The video spread like gasoline over a spark. First it hit Twitter, then Reddit, then the morning news shows. Within hours, Loretta's name was everywhere again. But this time, the headlines were different. The maid who saved a life and was sued for it. Billionaire's confession sparks outrage. Public demands justice for Loretta. #Stand with Loretta trending worldwide. At first, Loretta didn't even know it had happened. She'd left her phone in her apartment. She'd spent the rest of that morning in the laundromat 2 blocks from home, folding towels in silence, her thoughts quieter than they'd been in weeks. But when she stepped back into her building, her neighbor Diane was waiting in the hallway, eyes wide, phone in hand. "Girl," she whispered, "you need to sit down." That night, Loretta didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed in the same sweatshirt she'd been wearing for 2 days. Her phone had over 100 missed calls. Journalists, lawyers, former friends, strangers. She didn't answer any of them. Instead, she watched the video. Again and again. Her stomach was tight the whole time. Not from fear, from something else. Vindication. Noah's drawing, the one the nurse had handed her, with her name and the words, "I love you," sat beside her on the nightstand. She ran her finger over it. Then the knock came. Not at the front door. At her fire escape. She froze. Looked toward the window. Someone was climbing up. She shot up, grabbed the nearest thing with weight, a heavy flashlight, and stormed toward the window with every intention of breaking someone's nose. Then she saw the face. "Don't scream," the boy said. "It's me." "Noah." Loretta opened the window so fast it nearly came off the hinge. "Noah." He was standing there, hoodie up, sneakers dusty, backpack slung over one shoulder like a runaway. "I told the driver I was going to my friend's house," he said, climbing in. "Then I ditched him at the gas station." "You what? Boy, do you know what your father will?" "I don't care," he said. That shut her up. She looked at him, really looked at him. He was thinner than before, eyes darker under the lids. But he looked sure, steady. He dropped his bag on the floor and walked to the kitchen like he'd been there 100 times. "Do you still make grilled cheese with the crusts cut off?" he asked. Loretta blinked, heart still racing. "Of course," she said. He didn't say much while he ate. Just sat at the table, swinging his legs, munching like a kid again. It wasn't until he was halfway through the sandwich that he said, "I saw the video too." Loretta nodded slowly. "I didn't know he said all that." He said, "At the hospital. About you. It's over now." "No, it's not," Noah said quietly. "It's everywhere. My friends at school saw it. Some of their parents won't let them come over anymore." Loretta's chest tightened. "I'm sorry, baby. It's not your fault." Another silence. Then, "I want to live with you." Loretta froze. "What?" "I don't want to stay there," he said. "Not with the nannies. Not with Dad. I want to live here. With you." "Noah, you can't just decide that." "Why not?" "Because there are rules," she said. "Courts. Custody. I'm not your mom. You're the only one who loves me like one." The words knocked the breath out of her. He stood, walked over, and wrapped his arms around her. "I don't feel safe with anyone else," he whispered. Loretta stood frozen, one hand hovering over his shoulder. She wanted to pull him in tight, tell him he could stay forever. But she couldn't. "Not yet. We'll figure it out," she whispered back. The next morning, CPS showed up at her door. And Nathan Grayson wasn't far behind. The scene unfolded in the hallway of her apartment building like something out of a courtroom drama. 2 social workers, 1 uniformed officer, 1 billionaire father, dressed in designer clothes and barely hiding the panic on his face. Loretta stepped out slowly, Noah behind her. "What the hell is this?" she asked, voice low. Nathan stepped forward. "He ran off. I've been looking everywhere." "He didn't run off," she said. "He came here." "You think I don't know that?" Nathan snapped. "I watched the footage from my driver. He saw him go into the alley. I didn't call the cops. I didn't blast this all over the news. I came here to get him back quietly." "Then why are they here?" she asked, motioning to CPS. "I had no choice," he said, dropping his voice. "They called me. Someone filed a report about an unstable domestic environment. They flagged your name. The crash. The media. Everything." Noah stepped forward. "I'm not going anywhere unless she comes too." One of the social workers kneeled down. "Noah, honey, we just want to make sure you're safe." "I am safe," he said, "when I'm with her." Loretta put a hand on his shoulder. Nathan looked at her, really looked at her. "You want the truth," he said. "Here it is. I don't trust anyone else with him either." Not anymore. Loretta blinked. Nathan turned to the social workers. Can we go somewhere and talk? The three of us. The social workers looked at each other and nodded. That was the day everything changed again. Not fast, not clean, but it was the beginning of a custody battle that would grip the country, of a partnership neither of them expected, of a truth more complicated than anyone had guessed, because the boy wasn't just a boy, and Loretta wasn't just a maid, and someone else was watching them from the shadows, someone who had more to lose than both of them combined. 3 days after the CPS visit, the door to Loretta's apartment blew open with a gust of cold air and a subpoena. The knock this time wasn't gentle. It was firm, official, and when she opened the door, a woman in a gray suit with eyes like glass handed her the envelope and walked away without a word. Loretta stood frozen in the doorway. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper. Grayson versus Williams, emergency hearing for custodial evaluation. Cook County Family Court. Monday, 9 a.m. At the bottom, 2 words chilled her to the bone. Full custody. By nightfall, the world had turned upside down again. News vans started circling her block. Online speculation exploded. Was Grayson trying to adopt Loretta's surrogate son? Was he suing for custody out of guilt or revenge? Was Loretta being used as a pawn in a bigger legal game? But Loretta knew the truth. This wasn't about the car. It wasn't about the crash. It wasn't even about Noah. It was about power. And Nathan Grayson couldn't stand the idea of not being in control. She didn't sleep that weekend. She met with a public defender, a kind woman named Ruth who wore oversized glasses and always looked like she'd just run 10 blocks. Ruth read the documents with tight lips and a slow shake of the head. His coming in strong, she said. High-powered lawyers, private evaluators, full media coverage. His painting you as emotionally unstable, impulsive, unfit. He knows I saved his son's life, Loretta said. He also knows you drove a Ferrari through 2 red lights and totaled it in front of a hospital. Because there was no one else, Loretta said, her voice sharp. I believe you, Ruth said gently, but you're not the one with money, influence, or a spotless public image. Loretta leaned back in her chair, arms crossed tight. I'm the one with Noah, she said. The hearings started like every other courtroom scene Loretta had seen on TV, wooden benches, dull lighting, a judge who looked bored until he looked angry. Nathan sat at the front, flanked by 3 lawyers in navy suits. He was clean-shaven, composed, every hair in place. The press couldn't be inside the courtroom, but they were stacked like vultures outside. Loretta took her place across the aisle. Alone. Ruth beside her, whispering notes, flipping folders. Noah wasn't allowed inside, but she could feel him waiting, watching, hoping. The judge raised an eyebrow after reading the case file. Let me get this straight, he said, dryly. The respondent, a domestic worker, took it upon herself to remove the petitioner's child from his home, without consent, in the petitioner's vehicle, without permission, while he was having a medical emergency. Loretta swallowed. Hard. Then the judge turned to Nathan's lead attorney. And the petitioner is a billionaire software executive currently under investigation for what? The lawyer cleared his throat. That investigation was dropped, Your Honor. It's still in the file, the judge said. And it still matters. Keep talking. The first 2 hours were brutal. Grayson's lawyers painted Loretta as reckless, emotionally unstable, and possibly dangerous. They referenced the crash, internet speculation, and her decision to withhold Noah from his father. Then it was her turn. Ruth stood up and said just one thing before stepping aside. We'd like to call Mr. Grayson to the stand. Nathan flinched, but he went up, swore in, and sat down. Mr. Grayson, Ruth began, pacing slowly, do you trust your son's safety with Miss Loretta Williams? Nathan paused. Yes. The room shifted. But you filed for sole custody. Yes. Why? Because I want structure in his life. Not chaos, not media storms, not viral videos. Ruth nodded, scribbled something, then looked up. Did you authorize medical care for your son the day of the incident? No, I wasn't reachable. Did you provide emergency contacts? I don't recall. Did you thank Miss Williams publicly after she saved your son's life? Nathan's jaw tensed. No. Why not? He didn't answer. Then Ruth reached into her folder and pulled out something thin and blue-green. A friendship bracelet. She held it up. Do you recognize this? Nathan squinted. It's a bracelet. Your son made it. For Miss Loretta. The week before the incident. Ruth turned to the judge. She's not just his maid. She's his person. His anchor. His protector. And no piece of paper can undo what she's been to him. The courtroom was quiet when Ruth sat down. Dead quiet. Then, just as the judge was about to speak, the door creaked open. Every head turned. Noah stood there, tears streaking his face. Backpack on. Small. Brave. Behind him was a court officer, trying to coax him back out. I'm sorry, Noah said, voice cracking. I didn't mean to come in. The judge looked stunned. How did you get in here, son? I followed the noise, Noah said. I needed to say something. Loretta's heart nearly stopped. The judge sighed. Go ahead, but make it quick. Noah walked straight down the aisle. He stopped in the middle of the courtroom, then turned. I love my dad, he said, looking at Nathan. Nathan stared at him. But he doesn't know me like she does, Noah said, pointing at Loretta. She made me feel safe when my fever was scary. She let me braid her hair even when she was tired. She made grilled cheese when the chef burned it. She told me stories when I couldn't sleep. His voice cracked, and when I thought I was gonna die, I asked for her. Not my dad. Her. Tears welled in Loretta's eyes. She couldn't breathe. She's my family too, Noah whispered. Then he turned around and walked back to the door. The judge didn't make a ruling that day, but the damage had already been done. Not to Loretta, to Nathan, because no amount of power, money, or lawyers could change one truth. Noah had chosen her, and the world was watching. But later that night, as Loretta sat curled up on her couch, exhausted and emotionally drained, her phone buzzed. A blocked number. She answered, unsure why. The voice on the other end was deep, crisp, measured. You don't know me, Miss Williams, but I need to talk to you. Who is this? I can't say yet, but I have information about Nathan Grayson, and why he really tried to keep Noah from you. Loretta sat up straight. What are you talking about? You think this is just about custody. It's not. It never was. She stared into the darkness. Then what is it? A pause. Then, because the boy's in danger, and you're the only one who doesn't see it yet. The line went dead before Loretta could ask another question. She stared at the phone like it might come back to life. The room was silent, except for the soft hum of the fridge and the slow ticking of the wall clock. It was nearly midnight. She replayed the voice in her head. Calm, steady, precise. The boy's in danger. That was the part that stuck. Not the tone. Not the mystery. The message. It wormed its way into her chest and sat there, heavy. She knew Noah had been through a lot. She knew his father was complicated, controlling, detached, but danger? That was a different level. That was something she hadn't let herself believe. Until now. The next morning, Loretta went looking for answers. She wasn't a detective. She wasn't rich or powerful or connected. But she knew how to clean a house until it sparkled, and in doing so, she'd learned something most people overlooked. If you pay attention, people leave fingerprints everywhere. She started at the one place no one expected her to go, the Grayson estate. It was empty. Nathan had moved Noah to a townhouse in the Gold Coast after the meteor storm. But the mansion hadn't been sold yet. The property manager still visited twice a week, and Loretta knew the routine like clockwork. She walked in through the side gate at 9:42 a.m., just after the housekeeper left with the trash. The place was silent. Too silent. The furniture had been covered. Lights off. Curtains drawn. But something told her this house still had something to say. She went straight to the study. It was Nathan's space. She wasn't even allowed to vacuum it unless he personally unlocked the door. But she'd seen inside enough times to know where he kept things. The mahogany desk was still there. Heavy. Clean. She tried the drawers. Locked. She reached under the desk where the spare key used to be taped. It was still there. The top drawer held nothing but pens and business cards. The second had a few old files, stapled invoices, pages of project notes and startup equity terms she didn't understand. But the bottom drawer, that's where she found it. A folder. Thick. Labeled in black marker, Mayfield. Her heart thudded once, then twice faster. Mayfield was the name of Noah's school. She opened the folder and froze. Inside were dozens of reports. Not about grades. Not about behavior. About surveillance. Loretta scanned page after page. They detailed things no parent should have or need access to. Noah's daily interactions. Conversations with classmates. Teachers' personal notes. Lunch habits. Emotional triggers. One report even listed every time he visited the school nurse and what he said. Taze stung her eyes as she flipped through them. This wasn't parenting. This was tracking. Monitoring. Then she saw the signature on the bottom corner of the first page. Northbrook Security Group. Private Risk and Behavioral Analytics. She recognized the name. They didn't do babysitting. They were former federal agents. Discreet, expensive, and dangerous. What was Nathan doing? And why was he using them to monitor his own son? Loretta took photos of everything. Then she slipped the folder back exactly as it was and locked the drawer. On the way out, she took one more look at the house she used to care for. It didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a cage. That night, she sat in her apartment, scrolling through everything she'd captured. She started digging. About Northbrook. About Mayfield. About Nathan's tech company, Virion Technologies, and the strange, tight-lipped behavior of his staff during the trial. She found something odd. A press release from 6 months ago. Quickly buried. Scrubbed from most search engines. But still live on one investor's forum. Virion signs experimental contract with Department of Education. Pilot program pending approval. It listed a few keywords. AI-facilitated behavior mapping. Predictive analytics for childhood development. Enhanced monitoring through non-invasive tools. Noah's name wasn't in the article, but Loretta didn't need it to be. He was the pilot program. Then her phone buzzed again. Same blocked number. She picked up immediately. "You were right to go to the house," the voice said. "Who are you?" she asked, this time with steel in her voice. "I used to work for him. Grayson. I was on the project." "You're one of the Northbrook people." "I was, until I asked the wrong questions." "What questions?" "Why a child was part of the program." Loretta's blood ran cold. What was the program really doing? She asked. There was a pause. Then, they were testing something. Something illegal. Testing what? A neural interface. Something that reads emotional output in real time. It tracks stress, fear, aggression. It was designed for behavioral correction. Like mind control. No, the voice said. Was behavior prediction. They think if they can anticipate a child's response, they can shape it, mold it. Loretta felt like the floor was tilting under her. Why Noah? She whispered. Because he was young, smart, and isolated. And because Grayson didn't think anyone would notice. Loretta pressed the phone harder to her ear. I noticed, she said. Then the voice lowered. And now they know you know. Click. The line went dead. Loretta stood in her apartment, phone still to her ear, silence pressing in on all sides. She looked over at the bracelet on her wrist. Blue and green. Fraying now. Her hands were shaking. She wasn't just fighting for custody anymore. She was fighting a system built to erase people like her. To silence people like Noah. And if what she just learned was true, then Nathan Grayson wasn't just a bad father. He was a threat. Outside, a black SUV with tinted windows sat quietly across the street. Watching. Waiting. Loretta didn't see it yet. But someone inside the car lifted a phone to their ear and said, She knows. Move the timeline up. Loretta barely slept. Her mind wouldn't let her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Noah, hooked up to wires, surrounded by men in suits, being treated like a project instead of a boy. She saw Nathan standing behind glass, watching like he wasn't part of the damage. She saw the black SUV. She sat by the window until morning, clutching her phone, ready for a knock that never came. But someone was watching, and it was only a matter of time before they came for real. By 8 a.m., she was on the move. She didn't pack a bag, didn't grab clothes, just took her phone, a flash drive with the photos from the Grayson estate and the bracelet on her wrist. That was all she needed. She sent one text to Ruth. I need to talk. Urgent. Can't be followed. Then she took a long route out of her neighborhood, doubling back, changing directions, cutting through alleys. The city was a maze. She made it work for her. They weren't going to catch her off guard again. She met Ruth in the back of a closed diner off Ogden Avenue, a place that smelled like old grease and broken promises. Ruth arrived in a sweatshirt and dark sunglasses, looking around like they were in a spy movie. Loretta slid the flash drive across the table. "Everything's on there," she said. "The surveillance reports, the folder, the security company, even the contract with the Department of Education. I screenshot everything I could before I left." Ruth plugged it into her laptop right there at the table. It took 5 minutes of scrolling before she finally looked up. "Jesus Christ," she whispered. Loretta nodded. "They're using him, testing on him, calling it behavior prediction, but it's manipulation. Monitoring stress levels, fear responses, probably even drugging him." "They can't do this," Ruth said. "Not without parental consent." "They had it," Loretta said. "Nathan is the parent. But the school? They're under contract, paid off, probably told this was for the greater good. Experimental education reform. Whatever excuse sounds just ethical enough." Ruth leaned back. "This isn't just about getting custody anymore." "No," Loretta said. "It's about stopping it before they do this to more kids." At that moment, across town, Nathan Grayson was having a very different conversation. He stood in his Gold Coast townhouse, jaw clenched, hands gripping the edges of his kitchen counter. His head of security stood across from him, looking uncomfortable for the first time in years. "She's been asking questions," the man said. "She went back to the estate, accessed your office, took photos." Nathan's nostrils flared. "And you let her?" "We didn't know she was inside until after she left." "What about Northbrook?" "They are watching her now. Cars being posted across the street. But she hasn't gone home." Nathan turned away, pressed his palms to the window. "I gave that woman a job, a life." "You gave her a child," the man said carefully. "That's not something people forget. She was supposed to stay in her place. She didn't." Nathan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "If she releases those files, I'm finished. The program's finished. Every investor will pull out. The feds will be on my doorstep in a week. What do you want us to do?" Nathan turned slowly, and for the first time, his face didn't show anger. It showed fear. "I want you to make it go away." Meanwhile, Ruth and Loretta sat in the back of the diner, drawing out the only plan they had. "We can't go to the press," Ruth said. "Not yet. If we drop this raw, without the right platform, they'll twist it. They'll make you look crazy. Then what do? We leak it strategically. Find someone credible. A reporter. Someone big enough that they can't be bought. You know anyone like that?" Ruth chewed on the inside of her cheek. "I might." She scrolled through her phone until she landed on a name. Cameron Ashby, investigative journalist, former Pulitzer nominee, got blacklisted after exposing a pharmaceutical company for illegal human trials. Now ran a YouTube channel with millions of followers and zero corporate backing. Unfiltered, unbowed, unafraid. "We give it to him," Ruth said. "All of it. Let the world see the truth." Loretta nodded. "Let's burn it all down." That night, they met Cameron in an abandoned news station on the west side. It was freezing inside, dust on the desks, broken lights overhead. The kind of place you only used if you didn't want anyone knowing where you were. Cameron was tall, fast-talking, with wire-framed glasses and a camera always within arm's reach. He listened to their story without interrupting, watched the video of Noah's courtroom plea, scanned the documents, zoomed in on the contract with the Department of Education. And then he said, This is the kind of thing that topples tech empires. Will you run it?" Loretta asked. "I'll run it tonight," he said. "But once it's out, there's no turning back." "I don't want to turn back," she said. Cameron nodded. He pulled out a voice recorder and a small video camera. "Then let's tell the world who you really are." The video dropped at 2:04 a.m. Title, Exclusive, Billionaire's Son Used in Secret Behavioral Experiment, Maid Speaks Out. It hit 1 million views in an hour. Then 5. Then 10. Twitter exploded. YouTube's trending page lit up. News networks scrambled to cover it. #Protect Noah. #Grayson exposed. #Loretta was right. By sunrise, the FBI had issued a statement. By noon, a full federal investigation into Virion Technologies was launched, and by the time Nathan walked into his board meeting that day, half his investors had already pulled out. But none of that was the end, because that afternoon, Loretta got a knock on her motel door. Not police, not press, a woman, mid-50s, quiet, well-dressed. She handed Loretta a small envelope. Inside was a note. "There's more you don't know. Meet me tomorrow. Come alone." The woman was gone before Loretta could ask her name. Just a blur in a beige coat, swallowed by the crowd outside the motel. The envelope in Loretta's hand was heavier than it should have been, like it knew what was inside would change everything. She sat down on the edge of the bed and opened it. Inside, a printed photo, a USB drive, and a handwritten note in blue ink. "You think Grayson's using his son. What if he's protecting him?" That was it. No signature, no phone number, just that question, one that flipped her stomach upside down. Because it didn't make sense. Unless everything she thought she knew was wrong. The photo was grainy, black and white, clearly from a security cam. But Loretta recognized the face instantly. Noah, much younger, maybe 5 or 6. He was in a lab. You could see the steel table, the white coats in the background, the wires coming off his arm. And right next to him was another boy. Same size, same hair, same face. Loretta stared at the image for a long time, then whispered out loud, "Noah has a twin." She didn't wait. She plugged the USB drive into her old laptop, fingers trembling. The files loaded slowly, videos, PDFs, transcripts, and one single folder labeled Project Gemini. Inside was a full history of something darker than she'd ever imagined. Not just behavioral testing. Cloning. One of the videos showed Nathan in a meeting with military consultants discussing adaptive behavioral imprinting and neural synchronization patterns. Loretta didn't understand most of it, but she understood enough. They weren't just trying to monitor kids. They were trying to replicate them, to create versions of children who could be trained from birth to act exactly how someone wanted them to. Soldiers, agents, programmable children. And Noah had been the baseline. She slammed the laptop shut and backed away from the table. Her hands were shaking. Her head was spinning. This was beyond anything she'd expected. Bigger than Grayson. Bigger than CPS. This was federal. Experimental. Hidden under layers of corporate shadow and fake educational reform. And Noah? He wasn't just a child caught in the crossfire. He was the prototype. She called Ruth. No answer. Called Cameron. Voicemail. She tried again. Still nothing. Then she got the text. From an unknown number. "Stop digging. You've been warned." Loretta didn't go back to the motel that night. She took the USB and left through the service entrance, found a late-night diner with decent coffee and bad lighting, and sat there until her eyes felt like sandpaper. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Her mind kept returning to the twin. Where was he? Was he alive? Was Noah the original? Or was he the copy? At dawn, Ruth finally called back. "I've been trying to reach you," she said, panic in her voice. "Cameron's studio got hit last night. Someone trashed his equipment. He's fine, but shaken. They were looking for the files." Loretta clenched her teeth. "I've got them. Meet me. Now. You can't be alone anymore." They met in a church basement near Lincoln Park, neutral ground, no cameras, no questions. Ruth scanned the files on the USB and let out a slow, horrified breath. This is beyond whistleblowing. If this gets out. "It has to," Loretta said. "They used Noah. And someone else. His twin." "You're sure it's him?" "I know his face. I know his eyes. It's him." Ruth nodded, slowly. "Okay," she said. "Then we do it. All of it. We go public again. Press, courts, federal agencies. We go so loud they can't bury it this time." Loretta exhaled. It was the first real breath she'd taken in days. But it didn't last, because just then, her phone buzzed. And this time, it was Nathan. She almost didn't answer, but something told her to. She put the phone to her ear. "Loretta," he said. His voice was ragged. "Broken. They've taken Noah." The world stopped moving. "What do you mean, taken him?" "Gone," he said. "Disappeared from school. No security footage. No ransom. Nothing." She was already standing, already grabbing her coat. Who has him? Nathan. A pause. Then, quietly, the other one. The sun was barely above the skyline when Loretta stepped outside the church basement, her mind racing, her breath stuck in her throat. They took Noah. The other one has him. She didn't even know what that meant. Was it the twin in the photo? A clone? Someone pretending to be him? Someone created to replace him? Her legs moved before her mind caught up. She flagged down a cab with one hand and hit Ruth's shoulder with the other. Come with me. Now. To Way. To Nathan. They found him in his town haze, pacing. No press, no security, no staff. Just him, hair disheveled, shirt wrinkled, eyes sunken and bloodshot like he hadn't slept since Noah disappeared. He barely looked at Loretta when she came in. Just said. They knew when and where. His school schedule. His route. Even his lunch. He pointed at his own head like it hurt to say the words. They had his pattern. Ruth stepped in. You said the other one. What does that mean? Nathan didn't answer. So Loretta did. Noah has a twin, doesn't he? Nathan sank into the leather armchair. Silent. You tried to clone your son. I didn't try, he whispered. They did. I allowed it. Why? He looked up. And finally, he told the truth. It started when Noah was 2. He'd been sick in and out of hospitals. Nathan, newly rich, newly divorced, and terrified, had been approached by an old contact from MIT. A quiet project, funded by a hybrid of military and private money. A way to ensure the continuity of potential. It was sold as a backup. If anything ever happens to your son, they'd said, you don't have to lose him. Loretta's face twisted, like a hard drive. Nathan didn't flinch. They called it Project Gemini. Genetic duplication. Behavioral imprinting. They weren't trying to raise clones, they were trying to raise control models. Noah was the baseline. The prototype. He rubbed his face with both hands. The other one was always more advanced. Learned faster. Followed orders. Didn't cry when he got shots. He wasn't Noah, but he was perfect. Loretta's stomach churned. You kept them both. Nathan shook his head. No, I didn't even know they went that far. I thought the clone was terminated after the first year. The scientists said the project failed. And you believe them. I wanted to. Ruth cut in. So the clone didn't die. They kept him hidden. Nathan nodded. Why take Noah now? Loretta asked. Why not years ago? Because he's a liability now. After the trial, the video, all the attention, people started asking questions. Cameron's leak triggered it. Loretta stepped forward, fire in her eyes. You built a science experiment out of your own kid, and now you're shocked they came to clean it up. Nathan met her eyes. I never thought they'd hurt him. I swear to God, Loretta, I never thought they'd take him. She clenched her fists. You want me to believe you now? No, he said. I want you to help me get him back. The words hung in the air. Loretta glanced at Ruth, who looked like she was doing mental math at lightning speed. Where would they take him? Ruth asked. You said you were cut out of the project. You think they've gone fully Black Ops? Nathan stood. They're still using old sites. Off-grid. Quiet. Private labs not listed anywhere. But I know one they used to test long-term behavioral conditioning. Midwest. Close enough to be reachable. Way. Loretta said. He pulled up his phone and showed her a pin on a map. An old farmhouse outside Rockford, Illinois. They left that night. Nathan drove. Loretta sat in the front seat, jaw clenched, mind flashing between hope and fear. Ruth rode in the back, tapping frantically on her laptop, trying to track signals, pings, anything. The drive was quiet for the first hour. Then Loretta broke it. If something happens in there, she said, and I don't make it out, promise me you'll take care of him. Nathan didn't respond right away. Then, softly, I failed him once. I won't do it again. The farmhouse wasn't on any GPS. It didn't show up on satellite. It was surrounded by dead cornfields and hidden behind a thicket of trees. It looked abandoned. But the moment they parked, Loretta felt it in her bones. Someone was watching. Nathan turned off the headlights. They moved silently toward the structure. Inside, it was even worse. Not a farmhouse. A facility. Converted. Reinforced. Sterile. Fluorescent lights buzzed above cold metal floors. The air smelled like bleach and secrets. They split up. Loretta moved down a hallway with walls covered in two-way mirrors. She peered through one and stopped cold. Noah, strapped to a chair, not screaming, not crying, staring straight ahead. Blank. Then, something even worse. Another boy. Same face. Same size. Standing in the corner, watching Noah like he was looking in a mirror. Loretta gasped. The other Noah turned and looked directly at her. Then the lights shut off. The hallway went black. Sirens screamed. Metal doors slammed. And Loretta heard Ruth's voice through the walkie Nathan had handed her. They're locking it down. Get him and get out. Now. She didn't hesitate. She ran into the room, grabbed Noah, ripped the straps off his wrists. Noah, baby, it's me. His eyes fluttered. Miss Loretta, he whispered. The other boy watched. Silent. Loretta looked at him. He tilted his head slightly, studied her, then said, in a voice identical to Noah's, "Why are you taking him?" The room held three of them. Loretta, Noah, and the boy who looked just like him. It was like staring into a mirror, but only one side reflected warmth. Humanity. Faye. The other stood still as stone. His eyes were colder, calculating, empty. "Why are you taking him?" the second Noah asked again, with a voice that mimicked the real Noah's perfectly, but lacked something essential. Loretta gripped Noah tighter. Her voice was firm, steady. "Because he's mine." The clone blinked. Once. Slowly. "He's not better than me," it said. Loretta's heart kicked in her chest. She stepped backward, cradling the boy against her, keeping herself between him and the other. "I don't care about better," she said. "I care about real." Outside, sirens still howled. The emergency lights flashed red. The whole building groaned like it was holding its breath before a collapse. Nathan's voice came through the walkie, garbled by static. "Got Ruth. We near the service exit. You need to move. They are shutting this place down for good." Loretta nodded and turned to leave, but the clone stepped forward. "I don't want to stay here," he said. Loretta paused. "What?" "They said I would be him. They said I would be loved. But they just watched, measured, adjusted. I don't want to go back in the room." Something cracked in Loretta's chest. She looked down at Noah, her Noah, exhausted, trembling. His small hand clutched her shirt like a lifeline. Then she looked at the clone. Still a boy. Still scared. Still a child. She wanted to take him too. But there was no time. "I'm sorry," she said. And then she ran. They moved through the corridors fast, retracing steps through the facility's maze-like interior. Loretta carried Noah the whole way. The walkie crackled again. "Ruth, exits 10 meters ahead. Nathan's overriding the door lock now." Loretta turned the final corner. And stopped. 2 guards, armed. One of them raised his weapon. "Stop." She threw herself to the side as a shot rang out and glass shattered above her. Noah screamed. A second later, someone came barreling down the opposite hallway, tackling the first guard to the ground. It was Nathan. The second guard turned. Bang! He dropped, screaming, clutching his leg. Loretta didn't even ask. She just ran through the open door ahead, Ruth holding it from the outside, breathless and wild-eyed. They exploded into the early morning air like a storm bursting out of a bottle. The sky was bruised purple. Sirens still echoed in the distance. Nathan slammed the exit shut behind them. Locked it. They didn't speak. They didn't cry. They just ran. 3 days later, the facility was gone. Literally. Feds raided it. Also the news claimed. No photos. No official reports. Just silence. But Loretta had seen it. Lived it. Escaped it. Noah was home now. Sleeping in a warm bed. With his own pillow. A blue and green bracelet still wrapped around his wrist. Ruth had taken a leave of absence. Cameron was releasing a multi-part docuseries called Project Gemini, The Clone Conspiracy. The story had legs now. People were listening, watching, believing. But the war wasn't over. Nathan came by the apartment one last time. He stood in the doorway, awkward, unsure. Loretta didn't invite him in, but she let him speak. "I've submitted full custody to you," he said. "You don't need to fight anymore. She blinked. Why? Because I saw what it looks like when someone protects my son better than I ever did. A long pause. He looked down. And because I think you're the only person in the world he really trusts. Loretta nodded. Once. You can still visit, she said, but on our terms. He gave a small, tired smile. Fair enough. He turned to leave, then paused. Loretta. Yay. Did the other one make it out? She didn't answer right away. Then, no. But he didn't stop us either. Nathan nodded. He was mine too. In some way. Loretta shut the door. Noah was sitting on the couch, sketching in a notebook. Loretta sat beside him. He looked up. Are we safe now? She pulled him close. As long as we're together. Yeah. He snuggled in. I had a dream last night. About what? There were two of me, but one of them was really scared. Loretta swallowed. Yay. But I gave him something. What? A name. She brushed his hair back. What name? I don't know, he whispered, but I told him he could make one up, so he wouldn't have to be me. Outside, in a city still recovering from what it almost lost, the sun rose. Slowly, steadily, and inside a small apartment on 83rd Street, a boy and the woman who saved him sat side by side. Not perfect, not whole, but safe, and free.